Hi everyone, welcome to Legendary IT YouTube channel. If this is your first time, my name is Moses. I teach cybersecurity, programming languages, and IT. Have you ever opened a terminal and realized that you have no idea what to type? Or maybe you've seen somebody writing programs and there's that black screen, and then you see commands being typed and you've wondered, what is all that? So today I'm going to break down Unix and Linux from scratch, because those are two different operating systems. By the end of this video, you will know what Linux actually is, the different types of available, and you'll understand why it matters for anyone working in tech. So our journey starts with Unix, and we'll go way back in 1971. A small team at a company called AT&T built an operating system called Unix. So this was the first operating system built. It became very, very powerful. It monopolizes the market. So that was the only operating system available that was powerful. So this made AT&T to be ruled an illegal monopoly. So that meant they had to license the software or the operating system. So that made different organizations to take the code and modify it. So University of California at Berkeley made some of the most famous changes to the code, and that is where BSD came about. In other words, Berkeley Software Distribution was born. Meanwhile, AT&T continued developing what became known as System V. Eventually, an effort was made to unify both branches, that is System V and Berkeley Software Distribution. So, in that effort, it became System V Release version 4 or SVR4. But even today, the different flavors still have differences, despite the fact there was that aspect of unification. Now, let's look at those Unix flavors that we have today, because you find that in Unix, we have commercial and we have also free versions. So let me quickly walk you through the major versions and flavors. Versions or flavors. So the first one, we have Oracle Solaris. This was commercial, and it is now it is free to download, but originally it was commercial. We have HP UX. This is commercial. It is used for enterprise servers. So that is HP UX. The third one, we have IBM AIX. This was for commercial use. And then you have macOS. This is free, based on FreeBSD, and it uses Unix under the hood. Then we have FreeBSD or OpenBSD. This is free, it is secure, and it is usually less popular than Linux. Then we have Linux. This is free, it is not based on AT&T code. That's where I want you to get the differences. Linux is not based on AT&T code. Why am I saying that? It was written from scratch. That is Linux. And it's one of the most popular used today. Now, having said that, let's now head to Linux distributions so that we see. So before we dive into it, remember I've said Unix is different from Linux. That is, Linux was written from scratch as opposed to being a branch of Unix. So when people say I use Linux, they usually mean a Linux distribution. So when you say I'm using Linux operating system, in other words, you're using Linux distribution. So Linux, it's like a family name where there are so many people inside that family. So another name for distribution, it is distro. So a distro is the Linux kernel packaged with a bunch of extra softwares to make it complete usable operating system. So you can think of it like Linux is the engine, the kernel, the driver, and then the distribution, it is the seats, the dashboard, and all the features that forms now the car. So you find that without the engine, the car cannot work. So the parts that make up a car after you add an engine, that's what is called distribution. Now, here we have distribution which are popular. I have 24 popular Linux distribution in use today. And the first one we have Ubuntu. Ubuntu is one of the best Linux distribution. It has been there. For starters, this is a user-friendly distribution, Ubuntu. So I can just head to Ubuntu. We see how it functions. So you can see we have so we have two versions. We have several versions. We have the desktop versions. We have the server version for Ubuntu, and we have also the Windows subsystem for Linux. And others, we have cloud, we have core. But if you're getting into Linux, if you're getting into Linux, the best option, just go for Ubuntu desktop. The second option here, we have Fedora. So this is the cutting edge feature sponsored by Red Hat. So Fedora is one of the most popular also distribution. As you can see up here, we have Fedora here. So I can head to Fedora. So it has several flavors also. We have workstation. This is for laptops. And we have also KDE Plasma Desktop. We have cloud. We have Core OS. We have so many. We have also for IoT, Internet of Things. We also have Fedora for servers. But if you're starting out, there is no reason to go to Fedora for servers. Maybe you just have to start with Workstation or KDE Plasma Desktop so that you get a feel of Linux commands, so that you understand how commands function before you venture into more specific flavors. Another one we have also So for me, I prefer to use Linux Mint. Why? Linux Mint is very light. It's not resource intensive operating system. And to be specific, I usually use in VirtualBox, that is Cinnamon or XFCE distribution. As you can see, this is light, simple, and efficient. It does not support as many features as Cinnamon, but it's light on resource usage. So if you have an older laptop or you have less RAM, the best Linux distro in terms of, when you're talking about Mint, you can go for XFCE edition for Linux Mint. So Linux Mint is one of the best. I use it all the time. Also, I'll be demonstrating how to write the commands inside Cinnamon edition. You can install Cinnamon. I will create a video on how to install and all that. So follow along. So for me, this is the operating system that I installed. I'm using VirtualBox, so I installed Cinnamon, a Linux Mint Cinnamon edition flavor. We have others. We have Arch Linux. We have OpenSUSE. We have Red Hat, Slack. We have Pure OS. We have PC Linux OS. We have Papi. We have Zorin. We have Manjaro. Manjaro is another operating system I've used. It is one of the best OS you can use. So what differentiates these operating systems under Linux distribution? It is the package manager. So you can go ahead and also use Manjaro. So for Manjaro, I can say it's fairly a nice operating system. But the one I've used for quite some time, it's Linux Mint. Also, I've used Kali Linux for cyber security and pen testing. And another one that I've used, it is called Parrot OS. This is another operating system. So it has opened. So it is called a Parrot operating system. So this operating system, it is very nice. Why? You get to system admins can use it, network engineers can use it, even developers can use it, even they say it in their website here. Hackers, you can use it. Reason it has so many tools. It has tools for everything. So if you want to focus on software development, this is your tool. If you want to focus on cyber security, this is your tool. So to summarize, Unix was the grandfather. It split into commercial version like Solaris and HP UX, and the free version like BSD and Linux. Linux became the most popular, and today comes in many distributions depending on what you do. So in the next video, we are going to actually install a Linux, and the distro of choice I will use, it is Linux Mint Cinnamon flavor. So this is it. I'm going to install this one. It is Linux Mint Cinnamon edition. I'll walk you through setting it up using virtual machine. In this case, I'll use VirtualBox. So you can follow along even if you are on Windows or Mac. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. So thank you for watching. See you next time.